Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. If we think back historically, um, Abraham came from a desert. Moses was in a desert. Muhammad was in a desert. So many of the early prophets came from desert societies, came from places where Bedouins roamed and where there were caravans of camels and oases every once in a while and small villages. Times have changed dramatically, and the world has changed dramatically. At the time of the prophets, most people lived an agrarian lifestyle, which means they raised their own food and they lived on farms. That agrarian lifestyle continued in a lot of the world for many, many years until cities came into being. I grew up on a farm myself, but not many people have had the experience of growing up on a farm. A friend of mine who has a very, very large farm in Turkey once said to me, a farm is like a factory without a roof. And there's a great legitimacy to that understanding. You are dependent on weather. You're dependent on things that you can't control. And this dependency brings you closer to understanding your derivative nature and the fact that things outside of yourself control your situation. And through grace, things are taken care of. Through the higher qualities, things are taken care of. Man who lived an agrarian lifestyle and man who lives in the desert is closer to reality than the lifestyles we lead today. We have increased our separation from reality by degrees and by greater degrees. We now have artificial intelligence. We have computers. We have televisions. We have so many things that are illusory, that are illusion, that are meant to be illusion, and are there for the entertainment of illusion. And one of the things that modern man does is he chases these illusions. He chases entertainment. He chases all of the things to keep himself occupied. Imagine a time when you were occupied by looking at the stars in the sky, or by tending your animals, or by looking after your crops. The further we go from reality, the further we are from God. And the further we are from the unity of existence. We cannot live life in more than one way in the world and be real. We cannot be duplicitous and be real. Allah doesn't have other ways of being. He is but one. He is but himself. And he is within us, and we are within him. But for the sake of the world that we are so enamored by, we have lost touch with him. But in reality, we have to understand that Allah is in our body. And if he wasn't in our body, we wouldn't exist. And we are within him. And if we weren't within him, then the effulgence, that is his grace, would never be known to the world, because it's known to the world through us. And we have to understand this, and we have to understand that the reason we are here is to understand that great mystery. Understand that great mystery of who is Allah and what is our connection to Allah. The seed is the basis of a tree. The eye is the basis of seeing light. The heart is the basis of maintaining this body. The soul is the basis of the heart. And God is the basis of the soul. So, in a circular way, we are very, very connected to God. And we must understand that. Truth is the essence of our life. And love is the essence of truth. Yet, we have replaced illusion as the forefront of our existence, and we have given into illusion and its way and allowed it to take over our existence. We have given more credence to illusion than we've given to reality. We have allowed illusion to be our nature as opposed to reality. And many of us have lost our way from reality and are having incredible difficulty finding our way back to reality. Faith, certitude, and determination in God are essential to our being and are what allows us to be steadfast in reality. But if we don't do that, then we will lose our way. Wisdom is the key to finding our way back. Wisdom is the great light in this journey of ours through this world. With wisdom, we have the ability to discern things. Now, religion can only take you so far. Religion goes up to the intellect, but reality begins to happen beyond the intellect. Reality begins to happen in the consciousness of wisdom, which is the fourth through seventh levels of consciousness. There is sense, awareness, intellect, discernment, where the analytical process goes on, wisdom, divine wisdom, and divine luminous wisdom. Wisdom is what allows us to begin the search for truth. Wisdom tells us the difference between the animal and the divine. Wisdom brings into focus for us that which is transcendent and that which is mundane, that which is worldly and that which is beyond worldly. Wisdom lets us know about the quality of God and recognizes the qualities of God. Wisdom recognizes compassion. Wisdom recognizes mercy. Wisdom recognizes justice. Wisdom recognizes love and recognizes the inherent goodness of these things and the fact that they exist outside of the elemental world and outside of destruction. They can't be destroyed because they're not there in the way elements are there, which can be destroyed. And we have to be very balanced in order to be able to contemplate wisdom. It's said like it's standing on the edge of the blade of a sword. To the left is hell, to the right is Maya, behind us is karma, and we just have to move straight ahead so that we don't fall into any of this. We must look forward. And this is our path. It is a forward path. It is a path of leaving illusion for reality, leaving illusion and understanding reality, bringing wisdom into our being. The great treasure in this world is God's qualities. To obtain that treasure and to bring it into our being is the work of wisdom. Wisdom understands the qualities and can differentiate between that which is worldly and that which is divine. And if we, each of us, can understand for a moment that which is divine, we are elevated. We are brought higher. We are taken to a plane that is in line with reality, that is in line with God. Now, to understand God, we need to understand his qualities. To know God, we have to know his qualities. God is everywhere. We're surrounded by God. He's in everything, but we don't have the eyes that see him. But what we can do and what we can understand are his qualities. And through understanding his qualities, we can come to know him. And this takes the balance of walking on the tip of that sword. We have to be able to differentiate that which is from him and that which is not from him. But to do this, we have to have an incredible balance and an incredible intention and incredible devotion to the path and an incredible dedication to giving our life over to knowing him and making that the focus of our existence. You see, there was a time when man focused on his relationship with God. But now this world is so busy and this world has become so complex in an ignorant way that what we are constantly doing through our ignorance is creating more and more scenarios that we consider as essential to our existence and as important to our existence. And so we spend time trying to figure them out. And in fact, they are not essential to our existence. As a matter of fact, they're not important to our existence. What's happened is we have created false complexities. And we think of ourselves as being so subtle because of understanding all of these false complexities. So many things have taken over man and his work that man has become lost. For instance, there's so much going on now in the US about diversity and inclusion. Everybody wants to be included in in this pot of insanity and ignorance that is the world. Everyone wants their share of this pot. People don't realize that what they need to do is separate themselves from this and enter into a place where there is a unity in existence and all men are equal naturally, not through a forced way. That there is a truth to this unity, but that truth cannot be understood through identity politics. That truth cannot be understood through separating ourselves out as something different and unique from others. The life here is like a dark jungle of illusion and Maya. And we wander through this jungle and we encounter the animals within this jungle. And these animals all exist within us. And the animals that exist within us take form outside of us. And then we begin to act like those animals. And unless we are careful, unless we are conscious, unless we are constantly analyzing ourselves and the way we act, we are easily capable of taking on the qualities of animals and losing the humanity that we have. We need to understand that the basis of being human is being godlike. The basis of being human is imbibing God's qualities and having God's qualities. The basis of being human is to act in the way God acts. Now, man has anger, and man acts out. Man does things to other men that are vile. God, on the other hand, has no enemies. God has no anger. God doesn't find fault. God loves all beings. Can we ourselves enter into a state that is like that? Or does our ignorance bring our perceived separations to the forefront of our existence so that these perceived separations begin to define us as opposed to the unity that exists underneath these separations, on top of these separations, all around these separations, that is the reality of man. So what happens is man begins to think he's different because of his nationality, because of his language, because of his race, because of his color, because of his religion. And then he acts out those differences. He acts out his religious differences. He acts out his racial differences. He acts out his color differences, his nationality differences, and he prides himself in those differences. My race is better than your race. My religion is better than your religion. My color is better than your color. My language is better than your language. My culture is better than your culture. We are all the children of one mother and father. And when we understand that and take that truly into heart and establish that as the crux of our understanding of life, we become different. But as long as we allow the differences to be the most important part of our life, then we are constantly going to be in a state of chaos. We are constantly going to be in a state of agitation, and we are going constantly be in a state where peace cannot enter into our being. This birth that we were given is a very rare thing. To be born as a man or a woman is a very rare thing. Look at all of the creatures in creation. Man is a tiny fraction of all of creation. And this birth has the possibility of being elevated into the state of true humanity, being elevated into the state of man, God, God, man. And how does man enter into that state? How does man go beyond all of the differences and find himself in unity with that only thing that is real, which is God? Instead of trying to form allegiance with your religion, or form allegiance with your race, or form allegiance with your nationality, can you form allegiance with God? Or is your understanding of God such that he is different for each set of humanity depending on the religion that that set of humanity has? Do you believe God has a religion? Do you believe God has chosen one people over all other people? Do you think God has given different souls to different people? Or is there a sameness among us, and can we recognize that sameness? If we, each of us, can focus on that sameness, on that identity that exists between all of us, our lives will become more peaceful. But as long as we focus on the separations, as long as we focus on the differences, as long as we focus how we are not alike, we are creating illusion, and we are creating chaos for our own life. What is it that we need to do? What is it that man needs to do to make his connection to God? First, he has to do away with all the differences. He has to do away with all the separations. He has to be able to treat all lives equally. He has to be able to see all men as equal. And when he enters into that state of equality, then he can begin through wisdom to understand the nature of justice, the nature of compassion, the nature of mercy, the nature of love. And then he can begin to imbibe all of those qualities into his being, and he can begin to act through those qualities as opposed to just talk about those qualities. They go from being nouns to being verbs. Mercy becomes a verb. Compassion becomes a verb. Love becomes a verb. It's an act of being. And as we act like God, as we understand the qualities of God, then we begin to build a house within ourselves for God to reside in. We need to build a house within ourselves that is made up of mercy and compassion and justice and equality and contentment and tolerance. And when that house is built within us, when those qualities exist within us, when that is who we are, then God will come and live within us. And when he lives within us, he will speak to us. And in that state, we will learn the truth through our own mouth. Our mouth will speak God's words because he is within us and he is speaking within us and telling us who it is we are and who it is we need to become. Each life in this world passes. There are air lives. The air lives die in the air. There are water lives. The water lives die in the water. Earth lives die in the earth. Ether lives die in the ether. But there is also a light life. And man is none of these elemental lives. Man is not earth, air, fire, water, or ether. Man is light. And light enters into light. So man dies in God. Man disappears into God. Man becomes eternal by becoming light, by becoming the qualities, and then joins with that one which is the eternal. And that is the path of true man. And that is the path that we are trying to understand. This path is a path beyond religion. This path is a path beyond having to understand the rules and regulations of appropriate action. Because if you are truly merciful, you don't need to understand regulations for mercy. If you are truly compassionate, you don't need to understand rules for compassion. You don't need rules because God's qualities have entered into you and God's qualities are acting through you. The Sheikh was the example of all of this. All of his actions, all of the things that he did were naturally appropriate. He did not have within him the inclination that wasn't appropriate. If you don't have evil in you, then you don't act out in an evil way. If you don't have anger in you, then you don't act out in an angry way. If you don't have the qualities that are satanic, you don't act out in a satanic way. And we have to be able to examine what is satanic and what does it mean to be satanic and what are these satanic qualities. If you look closely, you'll notice that the satanic qualities have to do with attachment to form and acting out in an egocentric way to try and control form. What is jealousy? Jealousy is wanting form someone else has. All of these satanic qualities have to do with somehow rearranging form so that in our own way, form acts in our favor. We become wealthier. We become more famous. We become more important. We have more power. We control more things. These are all aspects of controlling form. When we tire of controlling form, when we tire of pushing and pulling form in this world and can let go of form, then we can enter into the indestructible qualities which have no form. And when we enter into those qualities, our relationship with form begins to change. It no longer is the most important thing in our lives. It no longer controls how we think. And we begin to think, instead of accumulating form, accumulating God's qualities. Imagine having a bank account full of compassion. Imagine having a bank account full of mercy. Imagine having a bank account full of love. And when you are in dire straits, you go to this account and you pull love out. You go to this account and you pull compassion out. You pull mercy out. And you use it to soothe you and to soothe everyone around you and near you. Everything in this world makes a sound. All of the elements make a sound. If you hit them, they make a sound. But there's really only one sound that you need to get hold of. There's really only one sound that you need to come in touch with, and that is the resonance of Allah. And the resonance of Allah resides within you when you have a bank account that's full of mercy, compassion, love, kindness, tolerance, contentment. When that's who you are, that's when God begins to live in you. And that's when the glow on your face shows that He is within you. That's when the nature of your temperament shows that He is within you. The nature of your contentment shows that He is within you. This is recognizable. We saw it in our Sheikh. We saw it on a daily basis in him. And this is one of the reasons we were so drawn to him, because we knew that divinity resided within him. And if we came close to him, we could be close to divinity. And by being close to divinity, you can catch it. Closeness to divinity brings divinity into the ones who are close to it. Nearness brings about wisdom. Nearness brings about compassion. If you're going to be compassionate, you need to be around compassionate people. And you need to see what it's like in action. You need to be around merciful people, and you need to see what it's like in action. You need to be around loving kindness, and you need to see what it's like in action. And then you learn how to do it. And when you learn how to do it, it becomes part of you, and nobody can take it away from you, because it's more powerful than all of the elemental things within this world. It's more powerful than all of the ignorance within this world. It's more powerful than all of the differences. Unity is more powerful than duplicity. Unity is more powerful than separation. Unity is more powerful than all of the worldly attempts at chaos and destruction. Now, it may be that you can be in unity with three other people, and all around you is chaos, but you need to maintain that unity. Don't let the turkeys get you down. And there are plenty of turkeys. We have to maintain our truth. We have to maintain our understanding, and we have to maintain our sense of reality. We have to maintain the house of God inside of ourselves, and we must stay in a state of divine qualities so that house doesn't crumble within us, because to have God live in that house within us is the most important thing in our life. We have been brought here to pass a test, and that test is coming to know our Father. That test is coming to know our Lord. But what we've done, instead of understanding and focusing on that main purpose of existence, we have created so many alternative reasons for life that we've lost our way, and we've lost ourselves in the ignorance of worldly pursuits. So now we have 1,012 different agendas for our existence, when in truth, there is but one agenda. Every other agenda is without merit and without reality. So we've replaced illusion as our touchstone, as opposed to reality being our touchstone. The only reality is God. Everything else is illusion. And as long as we don't focus on God, we are focused on illusion. And somehow that has to penetrate into our being so that we truly understand it. This is why men run away to monasteries, because they came to the conclusion that everything they were doing was without merit, and they wanted to be able to refocus and pay attention to that one thing that's important. Well, our way is not to go to a monastery, but our way is to do that focus within the world. So we must concentrate, we must analyze, we must continue over and over to meditate on the fact that only God is real, only his qualities are real, only mercy is real. His name is Rahman and Rahim, mercy and compassion. That is reality. Everything beyond that is a lie. Anger is a lie. Jealousy is a lie. Hastiness is a lie. Contempt is a lie. All of these things that do away with the unity of existence are a lie. War is a lie. Killing is a lie. All of the manifestations that cause harm to anyone are lies. And if we partake in them, we partake in lies, yet we label them with things like honor and with things like allegiance to homeland, allegiance to nationality, allegiance to race, allegiance to religion. They aren't allegiance to any of those things. They are betrayals of the unity of existence. They are betrayals of truth. And truth is at the basis of our existence. And if we can't find truth, we are lost. And if we replace truth with differences, we live in a world of chaos, and we've lost our way, and we've lost our hope. So we have to return. We have to return to that focus that God intended for us, which is the focus to come to know him, and that focus to understand the eternal nature of his qualities and to enter into that eternity. That is our path. That is our birthright. That's what's available for us. And that's where we should be focused. May it come to pass that each of us understands that focus and brings that focus into our being and is not led astray by all of the temptations of the world that ask us to enter into the chaos that everyone else lives in. Chaos loves chaos. Misery loves company. Truth is one. Find that one. Find that place of truth. Live in that place of truth. And don't let anyone move you from that intention. May it be so for each of us. Ameen. Ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.